Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. It is post-match reaction showtime after Liverpool's long unbeaten record against Everton, and even longer unbeaten record against Everton at Anfield is in tatters. We were beaten 2-0 today in a game where, it's fair to say that Everton probably deserved to lead the first half. I thought their first goal was a good goal. It's not one where you can have too many criticisms of Liverpool either. I don't see why there's any kind of idea that we should be blaming someone like Ozan Kabak for the goal just because he's closer to Richarlison and therefore should maybe be dealing with him. It's a very good pass. It splits the defence. Richarlison's run is perfectly timed. It's a great finish as well. And sometimes you do just have to put your hands up and say, you know what, that was a good goal and there was very little we can do about it. And what you then have to do is pick yourselves up off the canvas and go at the opponent and turn things round. And Liverpool made a real meal of doing that. I mean, the first half then just passed by pretty much without incident. I think kicking into the wind, or rather with the wind, if that probably is a better way of explaining it, didn't really help us at all. I think one thing you can do under that circumstance is take more long shots, be a little bit more, just kind of have more motivations to shoot whenever the opportunity comes around. But that's not really Liverpool's style. Liverpool's style is to carefully craft opportunities, especially when you haven't got people like Oxlade-Chamberlain on the pitch, who is just going to, try it from distance a lot of times. So it didn't really serve us that well, and in some ways it was better for Everton because it meant when they got forward they could play crosses and long balls that had a bit more curve, a bit more dip on them, and it made it more easy for them to counter attack. And in a way, what we probably should have done is sat off a little bit and brought Everton on, and therefore that would have allowed us to play the ball forward where the wind would have actually helped because it would have put more kind of momentum behind it. But instead we carried on trying to craft the perfect chances we always do, and it didn't really work out. And that's why the best chance of the first half, even apart from the Everton goal, goes to Everton again. It's again a wonderful cross from Luca Dean, a good header from Seamus Coleman, good save from Alisson as well. But another one where you can't really criticise Liverpool. You just have to put your hands up and say good play from Everton there. They've played to the strength of having the wind on their side as well. And of course it was just after Henderson had gone off. That's just yet another blow that we don't need. And it is now at the point where you just think, what is the point, really, in a way, when so many players are picking up injuries, when Van Dijk, Matip and Gomez, your three senior centre-halves, have all got injured, and then the two midfielders that you've been using all season as backup at centre-half because of the nature of the circumstances are now both injured as well. You genuinely just think, well, what are we supposed to do? Kabak and Phillips are the 6th and 7th choice centre-halves. If everyone is fit, that's where they are in the pecking order, and we're having to play them. So it's no surprise that Everton do get a couple of decent chances under those circumstances, because it's just impossible for Liverpool to really deal with these circumstances. What was frustrating was that we weren't really doing the business at the other end of the pitch in the first half. I do think, to be fair from us, and this is why I think criticisms of Liverpool and saying that it was a defeat of our own making are a bit unfair. In the second half, I was actually really pleased with the Liverpool performance. I know we don't get a goal, and I'll come on to why, we sort of get sucker punched at the end a bit later on in the video, but the way we played for the first 35 minutes or so of that second half I thought was really good. And one issue is we just didn't have the strength in depth on the bench to keep that momentum going as players started to tire. You need people like Jota, like Minamino as well, to be able to bring off the bench and freshen things up. You need midfielders like Wijnaldum or Thiago, who maybe wouldn't have started the game under normal circumstances with a fully fit starting 11, to then come on and give you a little bit of a second wind, keep the momentum going and keep plugging away at that Everton defence, because it did look like they might have got breached. I think with the wind helping us as well, it put more bends on the ball, which made it easier to put crosses and low balls into the box and stuff like that. Shots weren't flying as wildly wide and over and stuff like that as well. So it really did look like it was a matter of when, not if, Liverpool were going to score. We were starting to pick the lock. We were playing quite direct as well, running at Everton defenders. Trent Alexander-Arnold, I thought, had a very good second half, getting into the box and getting into threatening positions. And it was just every single time a fine margin didn't go our way. Jordan Pickford gets a glove to it or gets down just quick enough to smother a shot, or an Everton defender manages to just get there before a Liverpool player. They play a last-ditch tackle that pushes the ball out for a throw or stuff like that. So fair enough to them there as well, because that they did well under immense pressure from Liverpool in that second half. It's just the one frustrating thing is when we did finally get chances, they were just a little bit wayward. The shots weren't there. The sharpness wasn't there. I think Firmino had quite a few where his shots were either insipid P-rollers or just absolutely wild lashings into Rosette and stuff like that. And you do think, well, if those had fallen to anyone else, then maybe the game is a totally different story. But I quite enjoyed the second half in a way. It never felt like Liverpool were losing their edge, weren't in with a shout of getting an equaliser. We were always in the conversation and always in with a chance of getting ourselves back in the game. And normally in the past, you back this Liverpool team to eventually force the issue and get the goal that they've worked so hard for. And then it happens. And I don't want to pin the entire defeat on one single incident, because, you know, Everton did score a goal early on. They were good value for their lead at half time, and they fought very well to keep us out in the second half. But the penalty happens, and I don't think there's no one apart from the referee who thinks that is a penalty. Any Everton fans probably don't think that's a penalty. Trent Alexander-Arnold is on the deck. He's been on the deck for a while as well. He's made no attempt to get anywhere near Calvert-Lewin. He's just trying to get towards the ball. And then Calvert-Lewin runs into him, knees him in the head, which anywhere else on the pitch is probably a foul from him, or at least an excuse to stop play and have a look at Trent and make sure he's all right after he's just been walloped in the back of the head. He's already tumbling at that point as well. He's already throwing himself to the deck. His balance is totally off. If he had his balance and he wasn't looking to win the penalty, he could have quite easily just run round Trent or even over him. Instead, he clatters into him, hits the deck. The referee gives a penalty. Everyone's thinking, nah, that'll get overturned. Everyone in the VAR truck has a look at it and says, nah, that's not a penalty. That's ridiculous. He's made a bit of a clanger there. The referee clearly saw it the wrong way. So they send him over to the monitor, and 2 seconds, was it? 3 seconds maybe? And now we've seen the angle he has as well. It's that goal line tech angle. It's so obvious that it's not a penalty, and it's just like, as I said with the centre-half thing, what's the point when everything's not going your way, when everything that could go wrong is going wrong? It's really hard to see the point in even getting too wound up about it, because it is just like the football gods have decided that nothing's going to go Liverpool's way this season, and that extends to injuries and extends to all the fine margins, little tackles, little wayward shots and stuff like that, and it extends to the most baffling refereeing decision. I think that is the most ridiculous decision I've seen so far this season. We've seen some VAR decisions where you can at least say, you know, I know that the lines are dodgy and everything, and we still don't really buy the way they call offsides, but that's the technology and that's what the technology says. We've seen ones where, you know, you can say, well, at least it's not a clear and obvious error, so I can see why VAR hasn't overturned it. That one was a clear and obvious error, enough of a clear and obvious error for the people who, the morons, the imbeciles, the inept cretins who run VAR, so even they could see that it was an error, and even they told the referee to get over the monitor and have a proper look at it. And then he doesn't bother looking. He just watches one replay of it. I genuinely think in that situation he just didn't want to overturn his decision. He didn't want to be seen to have kind of bowed to any kind of pressure, because if he was really interested in getting the decision spot on, you'd A, watch it more than once, and B, you'd watch more than one angle. But he watches one angle once and just goes, yeah, fine, I'll stick with my decision. He genuinely didn't even bother. It is just taking the piss, because it's not even trying. It's not even caring enough about your job and caring enough about getting the right decision to stop and consider it properly. It's just basically thinking, well, I can't be bothered. I'm not that interested in getting the decision right. And I am almost laughing at this because it's happened so many times this season. This is the worst one yet by, I think, an absolute mile. And when everything else is going wrong as well, you just have to say, I don't want to criticise Liverpool. I don't want to say that was a defeat of Liverpool's own making, because like I said as well, I enjoyed that second half. I felt like Liverpool were plugging away. And listen, if that penalty doesn't happen, and it ends 1-0, and Everton just do very well to defend and keep Liverpool out, and it's all last-ditch tackles and great saves from Pickford, then again, like with the goal at the start, you have to put your hands up and say eventually they were going to come to Anfield and they were going to play very well and things were going to go right for them for once, and they'd come away with a win. And you know what? Fair enough, it would have been deserved. It would have been the vintage Carlo Ancelotti away win. And as much as it would have hurt, and it does hurt, it really, really kills all of us inside as Liverpool fans, you would have had to say, fair enough. But we'll never get to know whether that would have happened. We'll never get to know whether Everton would have seen it out for the win, or Liverpool would have finally managed, after plugging away all the way through that half, to find a way through and get a goal. Either way, you would have been able to give credit. You would have said fair enough to Liverpool for keeping at it and finally getting an equaliser, or fair enough to Everton for actually winning the game. And we'd all have to say they deserve those 3 points. And they still technically do, because the game ended 2-0. And if that penalty doesn't go in, under sort of mathematical interpretation of the game, it would have ended 1-0. But Liverpool were just completely shell-shocked after that, because I think the players had the same attitude as us of, what the hell are we supposed to do when this is the hand we're being dealt, when this is the way the game's going? And it's so frustrating. And I can imagine it's even frustrating as a neutral, even if you wanted Everton to win, to see that record tumble, to see Liverpool finally get beaten in a Merseyside derby. You would have wanted to have seen it happen properly. Everyone is saying that that is a dodgy pen. And it does just remove a bit of integrity from that result. It takes an awful lot away from it. And listen, I don't think Everton fans are going to be saying that. I think Everton fans will be going absolutely berserk, and fair play to them. They can enjoy winning at Anfield. But from a Liverpool perspective, it's getting beyond a joke now. And it's so annoying that this is going to have a knock-on effect. This is going to carry on into next season. Liverpool have to finish top 4, and it's probably not going to happen with the way things are going at the moment. And that's going to carry on into seasons where Liverpool will have Van Dijk back and Matip back, and everything will be hopefully somewhere near back to normal. They'll have the fans behind them as well. Who knows what's going to happen with VAR yet, but on today's evidence, I really can't see any legitimate case for plugging away with it. It is absolutely useless and a joke. And if it can't even overturn the most appalling decisions you've ever seen on a football pitch, then what's even the point of having it there in the first place? But now, looking ahead to next season, Liverpool are in trouble in the long term as well as the short term. This season is a write-off. This is gone. This Premier League campaign is just something to be forgotten. Because fair enough, Liverpool have been diddled by everything that they could possibly have been diddled by. But it is now going to have ramifications for the next few years to come. And that is what is so annoying. And I don't want to talk about it too much today, because I don't really want to talk too much about the game, because it is so frustrating and it's sickening to see yourselves lose like that. It's hard enough to lose to Everton. No one likes to lose to Everton. But for it to happen like that, under those kind of circumstances, with decisions that are just so complacent, with such a lack of respect for the integrity of the game, is honestly mind-boggling, frustrating, upsetting, sickening, and astonishing at the end of the day. I mean, let me know down in the comments below if you think I'm overreacting. If you think, from a Liverpool fan's perspective, or a neutral perspective if you're watching, or an Everton fan if you're watching, you know, I hope you do enjoy your evening. It's been a long time coming. But let me know down in the comments below whether you think that was an acceptable decision. Not just the correct decision, but acceptable to show such contempt to not even bother to review it properly on the monitor. That was the bit that really, really got me. But at the end of the day, Liverpool lost another football match. They will continue to probably slide down the Premier League table. Top 4 becomes still within our reach on a mathematical basis. It's still very much, if Liverpool can turn it round, then they can secure top 4 fairly comfortably. But with the way we're playing at the moment, and the way things are going, and the way, you know, Kabak, Davies and Phillips are all probably going to, you know, get involved in a car crash tomorrow or something ridiculous like that, it's really hard to be optimistic about the rest of the season. But if you are, please, again, tell me in the comments down below and give me a reason to be optimistic, because God knows I and all the rest of us need it right now. But apart from that, that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very much for watching, for sitting through this very difficult video for me to record, and I'm sure for plenty of you to watch as well. Don't forget to hit the like button down there below if you somehow enjoyed it. That subscribe button there if you're new around here. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days as well. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter as well, and I'll be back soon, eventually, with the pre-match content for the Sheffield game. Until then, bye for now.